have the Pledge of Allegiance by our American Legion Commander, Pete Bocash.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we will have our invocation by our chaplain, Roger Luno.
I stand humbly before you as a chaplain of Green Mountain Post Number 1. A prayer for our veterans. O God, our Heavenly Father, you have blessed us with brave men and women who are willing to defend our freedom. May your protection and grace surround them each day. Let your healing hand be upon those who suffer wounds and injuries. May those who have made the ultimate sacrifice rest forever in your holy presence. Comfort the families who mourn and are left to remember the precious lives of their loved ones. Help us to honor and support them. Let us ever be mindful of each sacrifice made on behalf of the American people by our sons, daughters, husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, and friends. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, I'd like to introduce to you the ladies and gentlemen who are up here as our guests. We have the Mayor of St. Albans, Liz Gamache. Liz. We have our VFW Commander, Post 758, outgoing, Dave Bruley. We have our VFW 758 Auxiliary President, Sheila Spalding. Now, I've never met this lady, but I don't know if she's out there. She's the commander of the Vietnam Veterans, Dot Milton. Okay. All right, at this time, we will have greetings from our mayor, Liz Gamache.
Good morning. It is an honor on behalf of the citizens of St. Albans to welcome each and every one of you here for today's Memorial Day celebration. This is an important day for us to pause, to stop, to formally recognize how important it is, how important the sacrifice, the service, the commitment that our veterans and those that are currently in the armed services today give to our country. As I was thinking about today, I took an early morning walk before the city woke up a few days ago. And as I came through the park, I thought about the many Memorial Day celebrations that have happened over the decades and across generations. And the message is important and it stays the same, it's constant. And you'll see that if you look at the different memorials here in the park. Behind us, below me, on the Civil War Memorial, dedicated to the brave men of St. Albans who fought in the Civil War. And it concludes with the Gettysburg Address, the last line which states, "We resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." If we meander just a bit to the World War I Memorial, we see messages from previous citizens in the community that says, "In honor of those citizens of St. Albans who at the call of their country gave their lives in World War I from 1917 to 1918, this memorial is dedicated by a grateful community." And you can move on and see another inscription, "In memory of those who sacrificed their lives for democracy, that they shall not have died in vain." And finally, a memorial that states, "In memory and appreciation to all those men and women of Franklin County who have served, are serving, and will serve in the armed services of their country." It goes on to say, their service, dedication, and sacrifice have ensured and will ensure that our way of life will continue. These messages are strong, important, and powerful, and they should stand the test of time. They will not stand the test of time, though, if we do not all play our part. And in honor and memory of those who have sacrificed, we all must serve our country. I believe this is true, and that we can all play a role and challenge ourselves in our daily lives to support, to honor the courage, the bravery of the men and women who have served us so gallantly. How can we do this? In many ways, some big and some small. Sometimes it's just the small things in our everyday life. Standing up to a bully or to oppression, expressing yourself, expressing your right to free speech, and letting others do the same. Also, to speak and to listen. Sometimes it's hard, but if we can find the common ground, our common interest, love of country, we have a lot to be gained by exchanging our ideas freely. Service. We can honor the men and women who have committed themselves to military service by committing to service in our community as well, whether it's volunteering, running for office, helping your neighbor. We can all make a difference. And we can all participate in our democracy. And when it comes time to participate in elections, get out and vote. And we can all do this ourselves, and I think it's incumbent upon us to encourage others, to remind others of how important it is to serve our country, to honor those who have led the way through bravery and commitment, and sometimes the ultimate sacrifice. With this in mind, I welcome all of you to Taylor Park for today's Memorial Day of Remembrance. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that. Okay, now, our Veterans Day address is by a very special friend of the city of St. Albans, but a special friend of mine as well. I served with him when I was Ward 1 Alderwoman, and he was the mayor of our fine city. So we have asked him back for a repeat performance, because of his dedication to the veterans of Franklin County and Vermont and the veterans of the world. Our own Peter Deslauriers. Where'd you go? Oh. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Lemna, for that very kind introduction, and to everyone that was involved in asking me to speak this morning. As many of you know, I'm a retired teacher. I have had 42 years of standing in front of students and speaking, all the while knowing that they were wondering what is my true point and when will I be done. Therefore, don't feel bad if you share some of those same feelings today. I was tremendously honored to speak here today. While not a veteran, I live with a deep appreciation of those who had the courage and the wisdom in their youth to serve our country. We gather here today to honor those who served and have passed, thus the term Memorial Day. I'd like to take this opportunity this morning to speak in a slightly different direction than my normal thank yous. I would also have to add a disclaimer and say that all of the opinions expressed by me today are mine alone, not those of any of the veterans, anyone on the monument, or actually probably anyone else in the world. They're simply my thoughts. And by the grace of the ladies and gentlemen that we're honoring today, I have the right to say them. Today, as I reflect on our veterans' sacrifices, both those who have passed and those who stand before us today, I consider both the purpose and the rationale and the result of their sacrifices. Today, as a nation, we are a mess. Every veteran has the right to question what happened. Any veteran has the right to ask, is this what I gave my life for? Is this what I am to be judged on? Is this nation truly currently one of freedoms and ideals? Did veterans fight and die for our current president's vision of America? Did they sacrifice their youth for the Democrats' current efforts? Did you envision a federal government where there are two factions or parties and each is intent on destroying the other party, and any progress for us Americans is not even a thought? Did you envision a country where we have professional politicians who are more concerned about keeping their jobs than serving their voters? Where the Congress enacts laws and programs that they themselves do not have to live by? What kind of country can continue to exist when at any time 50% of the elected officials seem to be intent on obstructing any progress so that their party can lay claim to the office? Did you fight and die and sacrifice for those currently in Washington, be it the executive branch or even Congress? These are the people who run our country. These are the people who should rule by the same ideals as George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Was blood shed for unfair tax cuts, for a tweeting president, or for a world where terrorists kill people at a pop concert? I suspect not. Yet when one reads the news or absorbs it on television over dinner, this is the world that you appear to have fought for. I would suggest that if they, the current Washington politicians, are the people who represent our country, if they are the end product of the years of evolution of a democracy, if the current state of Washington is the American dream, then many veterans sadly have died in vain. Their sacrifice has been wasted. Our heroic veterans have been misused, lied to, and abused. However, after careful thought, a stroll through my community, and a few months of relaxed retirement, I would suggest that the sacrifice was not for the current group of Washington. I would suggest that we here today are as detached from those false citizens and professional politicians as they are detached from morality, right, and the true vision of our founding fathers. I say that the veterans, past, current, and future, sacrificed and died for us gathered in the park today. They sacrificed for you, your neighbors. They sacrificed for me, my children, my grandchildren. They sacrificed for our small city. They sacrificed for this celebration, our Main Street, our fine and sound local leaders. They sacrificed for veterans before and after them and those who they now stand shoulder to shoulder with. They sacrificed for our right and our responsibility to vote. They gave me the right to call out the current group in Washington with the hope for better things in the future. We're here to honor those brave men and women who have served and are serving or who will serve in our armed services. We're here for our veterans. As a recently retired teacher, I've had time and opportunity to reflect upon my career. In my 42 years, I've had contact with many students. Like most humans, we judge ourselves and our accomplishments. I might judge myself quite inadequate if I judge myself by the 3 former students who committed suicide, or the 2 who served time for manslaughter, or the 2 who served time as child molesters. I might think my career a total travesty if I add the number of former students who flunked out, dropped out, or simply failed in school. I would become suicidal if I added all of my formers who've become addicted to things as cigarettes, drugs, or alcohol. If I use this as a measuring stick of my performance, I owe the taxpayers a huge sum of money and should be tried for dereliction of duty. Likewise, veterans past and present might look at the current state of this media-driven country and question the value and sense of their sacrifice. I think not, and I would beseech the veterans not to judge your life on these facts any more than I judge my career on the previously mentioned. No, brave veterans, current, past, and present, you did not sacrifice for our current leadership, for they are not worthy of your pain, your sweat, and your tears. You sacrificed for what America is truly about. You gave us freedom, you gave us choice, you gave us hope. For every Benedict Arnold, there is a George Washington. For every James Buchanan who led us into the Civil War, there's an Abraham Lincoln who led us out. For every Chester A. Arthur who enacted the first immigration law, which unfairly targeted certain nationalities, there's a Barack Obama who tried to make America more user-friendly. You gave us hope and faith in a system that always promises a fresh start. For pure entertainment value, I confess confess that at times I watch MSNBC or Fox. I compare it to a cheap horror movie which features a monster around every corner. I remember as a child hiding my eyes in the movie theater, but when I opened them, the teenage werewolf was still ravaging the party. At times now I hide my eyes, but when I open them, we are still the same country that we were when I closed them. So when I want to really relax and enjoy life, I ignore the news. I take a walk in my community, I visit with my neighbors, I play with my grandchildren. I walk through this park and I listen to the sounds of a small and vibrant community. I read the messenger letters to the editors, I watch a Little League game, I visit the 14th Star with my friends, or I bow my head in silent and personal prayer, because this is reality. This is the result of your sacrifice. This is a life worth living. This gives me peace, this gives me hope. This gives me the knowledge that in this country, while the sum is at times a mess, the parts are always worth fighting for. And for this, I thank all veterans, past and present and future. This is your gift to America. This was the product of your sacrifice. And ladies and gentlemen, it was worth it. For this, I say thank you. Enjoy this day and every day, for you deserve it. And God bless the true America.
Thank you so much, Peter. Those are hard words to follow. Okay, now we will have a prayer by our chaplain, Roger Luno, before we have the roll call of our deceased veterans.
Thank you, Madam. Lord, be with us so that we do not forget the noble efforts of the past in war and peace to preserve democracy and maintain order and sustain humanity in a way of peace and social justice. We honor the men and women who have with courage sacrificed themselves on all the battlefields of life with compassion and concern for their fellow man. May our memorial to our fallen comrades be a living memorial of continuing effort in the causes for which they died. Go with us as we part and enable us by your gracious help to maintain in word and deeds the principle we have ourselves pledged as legionnaires. God bless America and Franklin County, Vermont.
We will now have the roll call of deceased veterans, followed by the dirge by the VFA band. Carl Jed Adams, Richard P. Bulio, Gaston R. Bignosh, Andre Bertrand, Armand Boudreau, William Chipper Brace, Charles Chuck Boyan, Dwayne E. Bernor, Bernard Wayne Bushy, David J. Cleveland, Philip H. Condon, John W. Cooper, Donald R. I. Cross, Howard R. Dusso, Tyrion Tinker Durkee, David W. Flanders, George E. Gay, Leo E. Hakey, Francis J. Horan, Dean Holworth, Ralph C. Hubbard, Samuel T. Hudson Jr., Timothy Hertaw, John C. Kendrick, Douglas G. Kidder, Richard E. LaBelle, Basil LaFleur Jr., Herbert Skip LaFrance, Norbert H. LaRose, James R. Lear, Richard Dickey Longway, Dr. Charles Lovelet, Arthur M. Marshall, Cashel Cash Maskill, Neil R. Austingay, Richard Popeye Ovett, Eugene Pinus, James L. Remillard, Kenneth E. Reynolds, Marshall E. Sears, Sidney F. Tabor, Leon A. Tatro, Richard Tebow, John R. Thorpe, Harold P. Vest, John W. Wyatt, Wayne Young. Thank you. Now we will have a placing of the wreaths. Will the three gentlemen please come forward? Our Franklin County Honor Detail will now do the salute to the dead.
Where's that arm?
And salute. Two. Oops, sorry. Two.
Order. Arm. All right. Brett.
Well, before we finish out, I'd like to give you a little history lesson. Back during World War II, World War I, World War II, we lost many men, and we lost women too. And when families came together, there was a formation of families of these lost ones. And they became known as Gold Star families. If you see a Vermont license plate today with a gold star on it, we are not generals, we are not the sheriff, but we are Gold Star families. And that's what that represents. I recently was introduced, or met a young man, I met a man who lives at one of the complexes up on the Fairfax Road. And I introduced myself because I saw his gold star, and I knew what it was. And it turns out his brother had served in Korea, was captured, and was a POW. And unfortunately, he died in captivity. So he's now a Gold Star family as well. So if you see those cars, that's who we are. That's what we represent. It means our loved one was killed in action. And we know they're no longer with us, and that's why we remember them and all of our veterans who have perished over the years, not just ones killed in action. So say thank you to these families. And with that, we will now have benediction by our chaplain. The benediction? Oh, that was an extra prayer. Sorry about that. He didn't realize he had 3 prayers to give. Okay, we'll have the national anthem by the BFA band.
Stand put. Right shoulder hard.
Antelope.
Present hard.
You and your young people, thank you so much. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our service. Please never forget our fallen. Always remember the sacrifices that they made for all of us. God bless you. God bless America. Take care. Safe driving. And we beat the rain.
Thank you very much.